Hail them.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Hailing frequencies open.
I don't know why I keep giving alien street food a chance. It's always such a gamble.
Captain, we're being hailed.
On screen.
Hello and welcome to another Hailing Frequencies Open podcast where we are trekking through the past and future of Star Trek. As always, I am your host, Mike Jones, and joining me via the magic of the internet is my co-host, Damian. Damian, how are you today?
Hi, Mike. I'm excellent, especially with our guest here. I'm so excited.
Woohoo! Let's jump right to introducing our guest. Joining us, we are lucky to have our friend of the pod, friend of our hosts, Lanita, joining us. Woohoo! Hi, Lanita.
Hi. How's everybody doing?
Welcome to the pod. We're recording this right after a holiday weekend. Did you do anything for Easter, Passover, Ramadan, whatever you celebrate?
Yes, I had the in-laws over.
Nice.
It was
Maybe.
great. No, it was great. Listen,
Good.
First Jones, amazing. Like, I couldn't ask for a better mother-in-law. Let's be clear. I won the lottery on that. I married into a great family. And everybody came over. We had delicious food. I made a cake. It kind of failed because it fell, but it was still delicious. So, made banana pudding for the first time. They said that was delicious. Winning.
Oh my God. That's the key to my heart right there is good
Really?
banana pudding. Yeah.
I hate it.
Oh, no.
Banana pudding. You eat that in bed and wiggle your toes. It is like there's no better experience.
You are talking a nightmare to me. I only like bananas in their regular form. I don't want it in anything. I don't want it flavored. No, thank you.
Not even a banana split?
Nope. No splits,
Wow.
no breads, no smoothies, no puddings. I will make anything for you, but I'm not eating it.
Well, there you go.
I have been known to send her rotten bananas through the inter-office mail. In fact,
Absolutely.
I believe there was maybe a FedEx involved once.
That arrived leaking.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
Yes.
It was great.
Yes, and
That's
she
a
also
great
hid
sound.
one in my office and let me know months later.
So
Good
there's,
friends,
there's
good friends.
true love there.
Love, yes, always. Yeah, you can't do that to anyone who you actually dislike.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes,
That's a friend language all in itself.
yes, yeah. Well, we know our love languages.
Yes.
What love language is that? Pranking?
Yes,
Is that a love
absolutely,
language?
absolutely, it is a love language. Yes, 100%.
That's amazing. Well, we usually like to do a little intro, a little Q&A when we have guests on. So do you mind if I ask you a few Star Trek-y questions?
Listen, I listen to the pod. I know how this goes. We'll see what questions you ask and if I actually have answers for them. So
Okay.
fire away.
So what was your Star Trek meet cute? How did you first get introducted to the Star Trek?
I was introduced. Honestly, I remember Next Gen being on TV and like catching an episode and be like, ooh, this is interesting, and like watching it, but never like delving in, watching it. And like when Deep Space Nine came on, kind of caught a few episodes, but then in my later years, like 5 years ago, Damian will have to remind me on this conversation. I said, I'm going to watch all of it.
Oh.
I mean, and I watched all of it. I am not through all the movies yet, but I watched original series, the cartoon, all of Next Gen, all of Voyager, all of Deep Space Nine, all of Enterprise, and then went into the movies. And I think I'm up to like, what's the one after Spock goes home?
5?
That was like 4, 5. I don't think I'm.
Did you see the whales?
No,
So 4.
Okay. So I still have to finish the movies, but I'm not in like a long form watching right now. I'm in like a 45 to 50 minutes is all I can do. But
It's crazy how many people like rediscovered Star Trek during the pandemic because it's such comfort food for us for many of us to marathon,
Yeah. And it was before that, like where Damian was like,
Oh, yeah.
what are you doing? Damian was like, you're gonna watch everything. I said, yup.
Oh, she's seen episodes. I mean, because I should not admit this in this
Yes, you
podcast, but
should.
I have not
Yeah,
seen.
please.
I'm sure there are original series episodes that I have missed, and I have definitely missed chunks of Enterprise. So
Sure.
I'm a completionist. Like,
yeah.
so my last thing is like watching the rest of the movies, and then I'll get it. I mean, I saw the newer ones, like one of the remake of the very first Star Trek with
yeah.
what's his name? Quincy? No, Quentin.
Chris
Nope.
Pine?
Him and who
Oh,
plays
Zachary
Spock.
Quinto.
Bah. There we go. Heroes. That's
Heroes, right?
Yes, Heroes. Yes.
What about the new series, Discovery or Picard?
every week. Love
Oh,
them
yeah?
all. I'm obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. Discovery. I love Michael Burnham. That came from The Walking Dead. I was like, oh, when she got spoiler alert, killed off. I was like, why? And then I was like, that's why.
That's why.
That's worth it. That's completely worth it.
Yeah.
You know, it's got Michelle Yeoh in it. Hello, like Crouching Tiger and Dragon. Like, I love it. I am obsessed.
Academy Award winner, Michelle Yeoh.
As she deserves it.
Yes.
I mean, that's long overdue.
Absolutely. So since you've seen almost all of it, what's your favorite series? What's your go-to?
Well, what's interesting to go to sleep. Being this is the problem because Damian.
This is an important question. It's like, what do you love the most, and what do you go to sleep to? These are important questions.
I will put on Deep Space Nine because there is something about Commander Sisko's voice that's very soothing.
Oh yeah.
I would rather listen to him than watch him because I'm like, we're going to talk about, an episode that we watched. And I was like, I said to myself, what season did he decide to like shave all his hair off? Because he started with hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, that's right. He goes bald at a certain point. And like the facial hair gets slightly, I think the facial hair gets more defined because he has no hair on the top of his head.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just something about listening to him, but watching him, he's always so stone-faced. Not so much facial expression. The inflection in his voice is nice and like calming to go to sleep to.
The inflection.
I think we could do a whole full episode about when Sisko shaves his head. I mean, like that is a turning point in the character.
It
when
really
is. He comes into himself in a very different way.
Like
Very
Riker's
different.
beard.
Riker's beard, like Deanna in the blue uniform.
Right.
These are character changes with appearances.
These are pivotal moments. Yeah.
Pivotal moments. Yeah, I guess he was known. He was in a show, like a cop show or something that I'm actually not really familiar with. Before that, where he was bald and had the goatee, and he was kind of known for that. So
Hawk.
they wanted him Hawk. Yes, they wanted him to not
Oh.
look like that character. So they asked him to
That
grow his
makes
hair
sense.
out and shave, but he didn't like it. So eventually, he got to do what he wanted to do, which was the.
I think they also thought they already had a bald captain, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
But that's
So here we're already on a tangent.
Okay. Let's see. If you could have dinner with three characters, not the actors, the characters, who would they be and why?
Okay. So I read the little pre-thing and I was like, ooh, if this is as I need to like actually think about it. And so I've spanned a couple of series.
Yeah.
1, Data. 2, 7 of 9. 3, Saru. So
Wow.
there is a lot about each of them that I want to know more. Like 7 of 9 in the new Picard, like we learn more about her and like I just want to know more about like her experiences with the Borg. I want to delve more into like when she started to feel like herself and not a part of the collective. That journey is like amazing. And then Data, like him always wanting to be a real boy. And and now that he's back again, like because I'm 2 episodes behind in Picard, but like he's sort of back again. And where like just I know your faces. Oh my goodness. I know. I couldn't get it all in. I was like,
no, it's good that you said that
Good.
so that we don't like slip up and ruin it.
Yes. Yeah, we don't want to spoil anything.
Listen, I'm gonna watch it regardless because I am all the way in. And then Saru as a character is fascinating.
Mm.
Like, I mean, he's got a place in my heart. Yes, the actor, the way he plays him, but just his countenance, how large he is, but how slim he is, his
Mm.
little fingies, like
Just the way he
yang,
moves, the way he walks.
he's it's so sinewy and sort of sultry, but with power.
Yeah.
I love
The most
Saru.
alien of all
The
of
most alien.
yeah.
Whoever created that face, like that race of alien, should get an award, because I was watching the episode and I just was looking, I mean, just the intricacies of the facial creases and holes and just beautiful.
And he is a true mask actor. Like his ability
Yes.
to act in that is
Through
amazing. Yeah.
Oh, he deserves all the awards as well. But yes,
Absolutely.
those are my
And-
three characters.
And they've given him such a great journey because he starts out as prey, sort of, you know what I mean? As this.
No, he was
this,
prey.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, he's groomed to be food.
It's crazy. Yeah, and he's grown so much. It's those are great choices. I also I like the idea of talking to Seven of Nine, because there's this gap in her life that we haven't seen, where she has a dramatic change from the end of Voyager to when we see her in Picard, and like what exactly happened there.
Who is this Seven of Nine? Like,
yeah,
wait a minute. Who are you? Where did this come from? And is this a part of like who you were like always meant to be?
Right.
If we ever get her and Janeway on screen together, there's going to be meat. There's going to be some sort of there are issues to be resolved. There's a lot to happen.
That would be great.
Okay, I'm going to just ask one more getting to know you question.
Getting to know you.
Thank you. If you had a holodeck, what program would be your favorite?
The holodeck's such a weird place. I mean that. Hello, Captain Obvious. I think you know what? I think that I like the mysteries of it all. I think I was, maybe because he's top of mind right now, but Moriarty, like I love those weird like period, like we're going back in time and we're
Some
going
cosplay.
to just truly like cosplay, like, oh, we've never been in this century. Let's go figure out a mystery. That type of deal. But I needed like a smoky jazz pub scene somewhere in it, where I can be like sipping an actual martini that I actually think is delicious, with the long cigarette on the stick,
the holder,
the holder, that whole thing, yeah. And then the red herring is there, and you're like, no, that's the version. You really did it. Like I like mysteries.
A holodeck program that's in black and white.
Yes, absolutely. Nice. I'm into it.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, well, I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. So let's jump into today's episode topic. So what we decided to talk about, Damian and I went back and forth with a few topics and decided to settle on queer representation in Star Trek is kind of the title that covers it, I think. So we'll talk a little bit about the history of gays in space and up to where we are today, and I'm looking forward to it. I think that we'll go on some tangents, so buckle up. Here we go. To prep for this episode, we watched a TNG episode called The Outcast, season 5, episode 17, Deep Space Nine, season 4, episode 6, Rejoined, and Discovery season 3, episode 4, Forget Me Not. And really that could have been another episode. We picked one that was, or I picked one that was the beginning of the introduction of that character of it deals well with Adira and Gray's relationship, I think. And then there's some online material that we also might reference. There's a YouTuber named Jesse Gender who has a great video on LGBTQ history in Star Trek. And so check that out if you want as well. Okay, so I'll jump into history. So in the 60s, of course, Star Trek was a groundbreaking show in many ways, breaking down some race barriers, but not gay characters. It was a little too early for that. If you think Star Trek was on the air 66 to 69, the Stonewall Riot was in 69. George Takei says that he asked Gene Roddenberry about introducing a gay character, and Roddenberry said basically we would get canceled. Like it was hard enough to do the interracial kiss episode that didn't get played in a lot of networks in the South. Like it's too soon. But that doesn't mean that there was no gay content back then, because it just wasn't on screen. Kirk Spock / fiction was a whole thing and still is. So a lot of fan fiction was not afraid of having some homosexual activity. Moving on into the 80s, David Gerrold, who directed episodes of the original series like Trouble with Tribbles, he worked on Next Generation. He said that Roddenberry promised that there would be a gay character in Star Trek The Next Generation, that's something that they were finally going to do. And so he sat down and wrote an episode called Blood and Fire. This was like 86. And in that episode, there's a gay couple, but it's not really the focus of the episode. Riker just says, "How long have you been together?" And one of them replies, "Since the academy." And the main plot of the episode was an allegory for HIV and the stigma of donating blood at the time. I really wish that episode had happened.
Yeah, I heard him talk about that episode and how it sounded amazing. It's just,
it did.
They were not ready. They were not ready to do anything like that at that point, and would love to know why.
Well,
in 86?
86.
Well, because,
yeah, no.
I mean, you know why? I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't.
I know the ultimate why. Yeah.
Think about it at all. But the fact that it's even written is kind of awesome.
Yeah, well, and Roddenberry's health started failing, so maybe he could have pushed for it better. And his lawyer, Leonard Maislish, who was kind of the puppet master there for a while, was very much against it. So there's a couple behind the scenes reasons why the episode didn't get made. It eventually was turned into a fan film from Star Trek Phase 2, which is this fan film series. So that's also online to watch. It's kind of fun to watch. Here's another interesting thing that I learned in my Google searches. Apparently, Jerry Taylor, who was also a writer on TNG and DS9 and Voyager, and one of the showrunners for Voyager, she said that Gene Roddenberry intended for Geordi LaForge to be gay, and that didn't go anywhere. And he was less and less involved with the show. But the writers, she thought that's why Geordi was written to have terrible luck with women. Which is terrible.
Look at you, boo, hiss, rotten tomato.
Yeah, I know. Thank God that didn't happen. I mean, that's a whole other issue. I feel like Geordi's love life is a whole other episode, but
it really
I'm glad that's not how it played out.
Thank goodness. So they did address homosexuality a little bit in a couple episodes. In 91, TNG's The Host, we introduced a species called the Trill. They will be coming back. When Beverly falls in love with this Trill who dies, but we learn that the Trill have a symbiont inside of them that lives on, sort of a worm. So the worm is moved, the symbiont is moved into a different host, and guess what? That host is female. And Beverly's like, you know what? I can't handle this. So it was almost like we could have had like our first lesbian kiss, but even the character wasn't ready for it. Which makes that episode kind of sad for me to watch. Have you heard Gates McFadden talk about that episode at
I
all?
have not. No, what did she say about it?
Well, she interprets it to be that it wasn't the gender as the problem. It was just the constant changes because the Trill had been in three hosts at that point because Riker carries it for a little while.
Right.
And that she was looking for something more stable and just couldn't deal with the constant changing. Like that's how, as an actor, she justified it because she couldn't justify Crusher being um just being straight. Like that doesn't make sense for the character in the 24th century
That she
that
would
she
be
would.
pansexual.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is that did Riker carry? It's a squid, not a worm.
Oh,
If we're gonna go with current precedent, long enough to like actually imbue any like real memories or anything like that was
Good question.
I mean, in that episode, it felt like because in Deep Space Nine we learned more about the Trill and we learned that the host plays more of an important role. But it was in that episode it really felt like he was just kind of like a short term vessel.
Yeah,
right.
Like a stopping over, like a holdover, like hold on.
Yeah.
To the
Right.
symbiote until we can get an actual host.
Yeah.
And almost that the host personality was suppressed by the symbiote in a way.
Yes.
Gotcha. Like dormant.
Yeah.
Whereas later on we view them more as joined.
Right.
Yeah, it has to be with the right host to be joined. To like
they
actually like get those
Trill.
memories. Yeah, they did.
Right.
Sure did.
Well, we'll be rejoining soon. But the next episode that was written kind of according to Rick Berman to finally deal with the gay issue and kind of put a stop to the constant constantly being as constant is probably not the right term, but people were pushing for a gay episode, fans writing letters, actors, and they wrote the episode The Outcast, in which the Enterprise assists a race of non-binary people. And the actual plot of the episode is not that important. It's about a wormhole, but it was really about, I mean, that's just the MacGuffin that got them there. One of the aliens coming out as feeling like they have a gender and then having romantic feelings for Riker. Now, Damian, you said you rewatched this recently, and
I rewatched this for this. I had not. I'm actually more charitable towards this episode than I was the first time because my feeling about this episode is obviously like any of us is like looking for queer representation in Star Trek, and I'm like, this is all we get. Like, this is such a like, it's like they used the sci-fi to avoid having to make a human any kind of queer, any kind of apart from the norm, and that I have known obviously for years that this was as good as they could do at that period on Next Generation, and that always made me angry. So I always avoided rewatching that episode for that reason. And rewatching it for this, I was like, if I could set that aside. Granted, this episode is full of all sorts of like weird gender things that they say and about like pain, about women wear makeup and men don't, and like how are men and women different? And there's all this like men are from Mars and women are from Venus kind of stuff that they kind of drop in there that
sugar
is
spice and everything nice and
right. But apart from that, like it is an interesting allegory and it is a interesting way to sort of like upend a lot of the sort of like gender issues that we struggle with now as a society, and it's well done and it's well executed. I thought largely in a way that the part of it that actually really made me angry was that that was all we got. Did you know that that they couldn't make a gay human on the show, but that I thought it was actually really there was value in sort of like turning the gender thing inside out and having this society that was so non-binary that they would have like the opposite problem of that to show that like there's always going to be people that are like that don't like that dislike people who are different from them. So on its own, like out of the larger context of like representation, not a terrible episode.
I enjoyed it again. I forgot about it, and then I watched, it was like, oh, this is like right now it's so heavy-handed. Like when I watch it, I was like, this is exactly what's happening, but
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of it, like conversion therapy is
Yes.
basically what it
Oh
was,
yeah.
where it's
Oh
like
yeah.
Yeah.
you're hot, like just the language was so specific to the way that we as queers talk, like have talked about our experiences sometimes being in larger populations, having to hide yourself. Like we seek each other out, we find those who are like us, and we
Yeah.
create our own little family, and then if we're ever found out, we'll be exiled. Hello, how many kids once they come out to their parents are exiled out of their house? Like it
Mhm.
it spoke so heavy to what's still happening. And I just, my heart broke just a little bit, even though I was like, how are you in love that quickly? But
Well,
that's just the
yeah.
way Riker
Yeah.
is. He
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
like, ooh, we kiss, I'm in love. That's, I feel like that's just his MO. But like the heartbreak that he was like, you can come with us. I will give you asylum, like so you can be who you are, like who you were born as. Like just being
Hmm.
like, we're born this way. It's like haven't that's what we've been saying
Yes.
from the jump. Like there is nothing that can change that. Like here we are born. This is what it is. When we figure out with the language what we actually mean by, oh, I'm queer, oh, I'm gay, oh,
Hmm.
here it is. But that conversion therapy, she's like, I was wrong. I could be fixed. I was like, ugh,
Oh,
stab in
I
the
know.
heart. Like,
Oh yeah. We've seen those zombies before.
Yeah.
oh,
That was familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That monologue she has in the courtroom or the sort of hearing
Yes.
is so well written. And really, I was, when I first saw this episode, um not out to myself. I was still figuring things out, and it really spoke to me. Like this episode really was a a moment where I thought like this isn't, I'd never thought of gay people at that point as being something other than horrible sinners, like, growing up in like the South. There was no positive gay representation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this was the closest thing I got to it. So I really latched onto it. Today, looking back at it, it is hard. Well, they cast women as the aliens.
Which was
All
So
of
Jonathan
them.
Frakes' complaints. Yeah, they were all
Yeah,
women.
yeah. I was like,
yeah, maybe if that had been a man, or a male representing actor playing the one that Riker falls in love with, that would have been a little bit more interesting.
Or at
But
least
maybe,
somebody ambiguous enough that you're not sure.
yeah,
sure.
that's
Yeah.
a good point. And that's why I thought when I was looking around the table when they get a certain point, I was like, because I had watched the Jesse Gender
Hmm.
YouTube. I was like, ooh, homework. I'll watch this. And so that stuck in my head, like, oh, all of the characters playing, or all of the actors playing these characters were female. I was like, really? So I'm like deep, like in the screen, like, okay, all right, maybe. But
Right, right.
if they say it, then I guess it is so, or that's what the Google.com said was true.
Well,
Then I
this is
guess I have to believe them.
it's the decade that brought us, I think. Do you remember the character Pat from SNL? Like
Oh
the
yeah.
whole joke
Absolutely,
was
yes.
that.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, that was years back.
right.
Yeah.
What's that?
Um, Looking back in that, it's so cringy. But yeah, like these, women with these kind of bowl haircuts, like,
Terrible haircuts.
yeah,
Hmm.
just the worst.
Yeah, I just want to know about them. Like, what was and this is where I watched, okay, tangent time. I watched a show on Sci-Fi called Face Off, where it was with makeup artist,
Oh
but it was
yeah.
about prostate. So sad that it like didn't come back, but like I would religiously watch it. I was like, oh, this is really cool watching someone take a cast of a face and create a completely different character, alien, Wolfman, who knows what. And they were like
Saru.
episodes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, well, why did we do this sort of deep divots on the forehead with like blue that are like kind of veiny, but not like, I just wanted to know. And then that terrible haircut. I mean, is that the non-binary haircut where it's like you have bold, jagged scissors? We just make.
Well, Michael Westmore is still around, and he has answers to all of these questions. He saw it, and an upside down spoon inspired the Kardashians because they have that weird spoon here.
They do
right?
have that weird.
It is. He has he can tell you all of these things came from someplace.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I need to sit down. I have questions. I need answers.
We need a debrief while he's still alive and well.
We need to get him on the show.
Work on that, Mike Jones.
Work on it. Michael Westmore, are you listening?
Hello, sir. We'd love to talk to you.
My other problem with The Outcast is that it doesn't address the difference between gender and sexuality.
Absolutely not.
Correct.
It blends it all kind of together, which I think confuses a lot of people even today.
Mm-hmm.
There was a conversation about pronouns that I feel like I've heard that exact conversation.
Yes,
down the hall.
That
at
felt
work,
like very real and current. Where he's like, "I have been trying to figure out how to talk, and I can't figure out." And that. Well, now we say they, but at that point, she's like, "Oh, there's no translation."
Yeah, and when he said it, I just was like, "Ugh."
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, it's like." Ugh,
but that's
really?
True. We
I
see.
know
that.
it's true. That's why it was so yucky to
so
hear.
Cringy. Yes,
because I've literally heard that from someone. Oh, so why can't it just be it? Because it is a thing,
right?
Not a being. It is an inanimate object. Like, what are we talking about? But I won't go down that road.
Well, and it's especially cringy because we know Riker and we know that he's has a good heart and is trying his best, and that's when we see it, and that's when we cringe the most.
Yeah. Well, he says to us that's offensive, and that it. But so he even acknowledges that's not the right word, and I mean, if that episode were written today, it would be a very different episode. But
it would represent that there are more genders in humans.
Yeah. Well, yes. Sure. But they would use they them.
Correct.
Which even today, people struggle with, and I also struggle sometimes with certain syntaxes.
Not immune here, no. Yeah.
of plural versus singular. Like the they them is not the perfect solution. I mean, it's what
existing language feels inadequate.
Yes, exactly. It causes confusion, and then you just have to clarify. But anyway, moving on through the 90s. So that was 92. A couple years later, in 95, we get the Deep Space Nine episode Rejoined. Guess what? It's also about trills.
Trills are the avatar for trans people and for pansexuals and for
absolutely.
And they didn't mean it as such,
but it is because it really is, and we'll get to it because I don't want to jump ahead, but I was happy but mad about the third episode in our Too Many Feelings. But yes, the trills are the transgender people of the universe that is Star Trek.
So to recap this episode quickly, Jadzia Dax is a trill, main character in the show, and a woman comes on board who one of Dax's previous hosts was married to one of this women's previous hosts. Like, it's a little bit confusing.
I especially love the scene with Quark where he's like trying to figure it all out. He's
it's
like,
great.
What? And then the what? The what?
It was like
exposition to walk us through. Yeah.
Yes.
It was great.
But the thing about it is the focus of the episode was not about them wanting to get back together, and it's a taboo because now they're the same sex. The problem was that in Trill culture, you should not pick up the relationships from your previous hosts' lives. That when the host dies, there's sort of a rebirth, and you have a new life now with your new host. So it created that sort of plot for the Trills, which, spoiler, in a couple seasons, I feel like that goes out the window when they recast Dax, but whatever.
That taboo?
Yes, because when Terry Farrell leaves the show, and they brought on, I, I don't remember the actress's name. Nicole, yes. They brought her on as Dax. So that suddenly that Dax is allowed to pick up the exact same life as her previous host and keep going.
I mean, I took it that the taboo was to keep them from engaging from partnering or mating with someone who that was
they didn't want them to then have like a circular relationship, right? Because if you go back to being, then you're not creating a new life, you're just going back into an old life together. You'll always end up back. I mean, I guess that's kind of what reincarnation and soulmates are about, but in the Trill Society, it's like, no, you're trying to create as many memories, as many lives as possible.
It's not really a way to just be immortal and have the same life forever. Yeah,
exactly. Right. And the other thing that I read somewhere was that, and they never, I don't think this ever made it to the screen, but the intention was that it was to prevent the joined Trills from creating this, because the joined Trills are a small minority of Trills.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Most Trills do not have a symbiont living inside of them.
Correct.
And don't aspire to it, but that it's to prevent this cast of joined Trills from creating these small little communities that are become incestuous over and over again, as opposed to going out into the world and integrating into the rest of their culture. So it was interesting because it was this whole taboo. We go back to the outcast, and the taboo against gender it feels ignorant. It feels like it's indefensible. It feels like it is representing things in our society that are ignorant and indefensible. But this thing with the Trill is is this taboo an allegory to something in our society that's indefensible, or is it something more complicated? Is it something more beneficial to the greater, I don't know.
I felt it was more complicated.
Yeah.
Because the symbionts, do we know how they're created, born, how they come to be? In the late, and we get to see the home world
they're raised in those
Discovery,
pools.
These pools, but how did they get there? Are they dropped off by aliens? Did they hatch from eggs? Where did they come from? And then when do you know that they're ready to go into a host? And they always say that there aren't enough Trill for the symbiont. So does at a certain point you get enough? I have many questions. I have so many questions about the Trill. It could be an episode in itself.
And there could be a series. There's more to explore with the Trill, and I love it. I think the Trill are great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's fascinating. Well, I never really thought about reproduction. I mean, when two Trill have a baby, they're having another Trill, but that Trill is just it just does not have a symbiont in it. You know what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're just having
I just said
Trill. Well, they do not have a symbiont in them.
Right.
They're just Trill. And who's to say that they have an offspring that is prime for joining, because they have to go through the training.
Yeah.
You have to figure out if you can actually be joined. What was the episode where somebody stole the symbiont?
Yep. Season 2. It's called Invasive Procedures, where they hijack the station and they steal the symbiont. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. It's a
I
great
forgot
episode.
that one.
Great episode.
Because I've kind of started, like, even though I'll go to sleep with Deep Space Nine, I'm actually like, I like
It's being
rewatching it. I don't know
broadcast
why.
directly into her subconscious while she sleeps.
Like the plus one gets so mad. It's like, how many times do I have to listen to this episode? I'm like, well, I started it, I was watching it, and I fell asleep, so I'm going to start it again from the place that I fell asleep.
Well, that Deep Space Nine is the Trek that Colby will not tolerate while he falls asleep. He comes in and I'm falling asleep. Why did Deep Space Nine? He's like, oh, this. Like, he's not here for it at all, which is a point of contention in our relationship.
I'm sorry. That's terrible. I mean, Kai's fine. Just turn it off. Moving on. Like, yes, I'm gonna. That's all there is to it.
I'll watch this later when you're not around.
Exactly, but it's just interesting, like the thieving, right? Of this to be like, no, I believe that I should be able to be joined, and then you're not equipped, right? It's not about being worthy. You're just not equipped to be able to handle what it means to be joined, having all of those memories, all of those lives, and being able to integrate it into who you are as a Trill, and then walk through life with all of this history and having it inform you, but also you still being able to be who you are.
Well, and similar to that, Ezri Dax had no intention, had no aspirations to be joined, and was thrust into a situation where, to save the symbiont, she was joined, and it became this whole question: with what would she become? She was unprepared for it. Could she rise to the occasion? So that was a whole, yeah.
Well, here's a question: Are the Trill all pansexual?
Jadzia certainly is. I mean, she had a boyfriend with a transparent skull. I mean, we got that reference with her while she was, having girl talk with Kira.
Right.
Oh, maybe inherently to be Trill, or maybe to be
a joined Trill.
And maybe it's part of
that's it. Maybe that's a part of what makes a person able to be joined.
Yeah.
Having no pretense.
You have to have this blood type, and you have to be pan.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, actually. We had another, I think, gay character in Deep Space Nine, and the actor agrees that he was at least bi. Garrick.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well dressed.
Absolutely.
He's a tailor.
A tailor, a spy.
Well, and that's one of those things. I love hearing these stories, because there's three of them that I have learned after the fact, that the guy who plays Neelix, his secret the entire time that he played Neelix was that he was desperately in love with Janeway.
Facts.
Garrick from scene 1 was like, I am in love with this man Bashir. I have lust for this handsome young doctor. And every scene, and his entire everything was good. And then the other one was Riker and Troy. Their entire time, both actors say now, even though, and they, to the point where they got in trouble for it, were played every scene as though they were deeply in love with each other. That was always present.
Because it was.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Going to the Outcast with the non-binary.
That played itself out there for sure.
Sitting down. Hi, yes. I have to tell you this as your friend. And then, do friends kiss on the lips? I don't think so. However, I feel as though they agreed that they were going to have an open relationship, and when they could be together, and they decided that we're going to close it, they did. And then when it was like, it's getting a little too hot and heavy, we'll open it back up, is when Riker got to go do his thing. Because who kisses their friend in the mouth after confessing that they have feelings for another person?
Yeah, that was a real moment. I was like, I don't remember that happening. That's a detail I forgot.
I said,
well, Riker is also the character who we learn about, what we know about Jamaharon on Ryza from, which I assume is just a big old orgy, right?
Absolutely.
So, like, that's his
favorite. By the way, in the Voyager years, we see Deanna Troi on Ryza. Yeah. So clearly they go and they have Jamaharon together with whoever else.
Right.
Yes.
They are swingers.
Right.
In an open relationship.
Yep. Yeah, that's
And
exactly
that's
what
why
they
there
are.
wasn't really too much conflict. Like there were like little times where they'd have spats, but it wouldn't like boil over to the point where it was disruptive because they had an understanding.
Well, it sounds so sensible when we all do it, but then when straight people do it, we have to call them swingers.
That's true.
They call themselves that.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. All right.
There's this whole subculture in this community in Florida called the I just forgot the name of the area, but it's this
it's the senior
development.
living community.
Yes, where
my mom went on a vacation there.
It's like the hanky code, only it's colored.
Yes, on like the doors and knockers,
yes.
like pineapple.
Oh yeah, the upside down pineapple
on cruise
ships, and they do loofahs of different colors on their cars or their golf carts.
Yep.
To say what they're into.
To signal. It's like having, they've taken our culture of a hanky, a bandana, and a back pocket, depending on the side and the color. A little bit of here's what I'm into.
Right.
This is the Disney owned retirement megaplex that is like the biggest. Yeah, what the hell is it? It's the
it's not Disney owned, but it is.
Oh, I thought it was
Celebration Florida.
No, it's not. That's Disney owned.
We share a lot of unsubstantiated facts.
I know. Oh crap! What is it called? Okay, I'm gonna have to Google this as we talk.
Yeah, we will have. We're
So
but so the other character that I wanted to mention, just because it was disappointing to me when I heard in First Contact, Lieutenant Hawk was supposed to be gay, and it got cut.
What year was that?
96. No, okay.
Oh, 96 maybe.
No, I don't know. I'm just throwing facts around. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. It's fine.
Sorry, I'm just Googling Florida swingers. This is
I want to call it like the Meadows. It's like the
the Villages.
The Villages. All right.
It sounds very innocuous. Okay.
Sure does.
I mean, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, so
They say it's one of the highest concentrations of active STDs in the country. In the Villages.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's also pretty conservative, strangely.
Yes.
Politically. Anyway.
Yes.
It tracks.
So anyway, Lieutenant Hawk was not gay, but it makes sense that they were going to write him to be gay because it's so to bury your gays. Like he dies and he becomes a Borg. So it would have made perfect sense that they made him gay just to kill him. But anyway, they didn't. The next, I think, gay character we see is not till Star Trek Beyond in 2016 when we learn that Kelvin Sulu is gay. Is there someone else?
No, I'm shaking my head because I feel like I take George Takei's side with that, where I'm just like, that's like such a tokenist throwaway.
Yeah, you should have retconned. Yep.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
You should have left it alone.
Just let it. It like bring us a real like made to be gay that is like actually part of like that's just like throwing bits at us. Well, that's a no for me.
The worst part is they said that they made Sulu gay as a tribute to George Takei, but didn't talk to him about it because he says that he disagrees with it. He was like, I played that character as a straight character for years, and this doesn't make any sense. Like,
just because I came out doesn't mean that the character that I played, like, you have to. I know sometimes it's hard for us to separate character from actor, but in that instance, like, come on, for the time period. We're good. It's okay.
Right.
We understand the constraints of the 60s. Like,
yes,
we get it. And, it's a disservice because there was no backstory. There's nothing.
No.
Like there was no fully realized character. Just like, oh, thanks for coming to get me, babe. What are we doing?
So then we get Star Trek Discovery, which is the queerest Star Trek show yet.
I have like a read of Star Trek Discovery where I feel like I can pretty much for the most part go down the line, and with the exception of Captain Pike, I feel like I can make a case for like every character on that show being some kind of queer
Absolutely.
in spirit.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
In that way of being like, which by the way, by that same logic, Worf is queer also, but like of being like an outsider in a
yes.
In a place that it's struggling for acceptance and trying to find your place in a world where you are not the norm. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to read that into the I call it the Spock character, but every show has one, the outsider, 7 of 9, Odo, and it's really easy to read them as queer.
I think that's why we love Star Trek, even when we're not represented directly.
Yeah.
Because the undertone says queer.
Yeah, it is that outside. They speak to the outsider. There is always somebody there who speaks to the outsider, and that Discovery is like they are all that. I think more than any other show. Say what you want about Discovery. I know people. It's polarizing.
Is it?
And there's haters.
Discovery?
Oh, yeah.
Why? For what reason?
For what
because
reason?
Because it's too progressive. Because
I think it's right.
Yeah.
Well, sure. There's that. I mean, yes.
There's the people who say it's like they say it's woke. Keep woke out of my Star Trek, things like that. But those people are terrible
can't even
people.
Describe what that means.
No, of course they can't. I will say the moment that made me cry in Discovery was Stamets and Culber brushing their teeth. Just normal
every day.
Gay
what I
couple.
did this morning. Right. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But also the fact that the love story between them is integral to the sci-fi and the sci-fi and the love between these two men are equally important in telling a bigger story, and that is not something that we had seen before.
Yeah.
And they're both fully realized,
right,
standalone characters, within themselves that have come. It's like they haven't made you complete me, I'm too half. It's like 200% have combined into a Boolean circle, Venn diagram, and in the middle is their relationship. And out here on the out is who each of them are. It's wondrous.
It's not
well, and it is the kind of representation that we have always gotten in Star Trek, where it is incidental to who they are. That is how, and that that goes back to Nichelle Nichols. That there was not a story that she was a black woman on the bridge. She just was, and it's just and similar to that Deep Space Nine episode, it was not a story in that world that these were two women, and that is how Star Trek has always been able to do these things. Like humans are past that bullshit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I was really worried when Culber is murdered that we were, burying our gays. I was like, well, I like flip a table. Like what?
Here we go.
Here we go.
You're going to be Teresa Giudice. You're about to Real Housewives of New Jersey.
Yes, exactly.
Slamming the table in the restaurant. I love it.
Well, and it was to the point where Wilson Cruz had to say, publicly, like, don't worry, I'm coming back, and kind of spoiled it. But if he hadn't done that, like,
it would have been an uprising.
Yeah, exactly. It was I don't think it was handled well, but
and also like it was. Now let's look at the history of, let's take it like once again back to Nichelle with the short skirt, and Troy with her skin tight suit onto 7 of 9, and then we finally get a man in those white pants.
Oh yeah,
right. Like he is like following in the tradition of like inappropriately tight, anatomically correct uniforms. Yeah,
correct.
Well,
I'm not mad at it.
No. It could have been. You could look at it as Stamets is like the main cast character, and like his husband is like this side character who like works in medical. But which
is how it was in the first season.
It really was. But then they took Culber and really made him a much bigger role. And I mean, I don't think he's chief medical officer technically, but he's also kind of the counselor, and he's also, you know what I mean? They integrated him in several different ways, especially once they jump to the other time. And made
I
him
also love on
full
Discovery we get
cast
two
member.
doctors, because what is the lady doctor's name who has no bedside manner at all? I also love her. And it's going to drive me crazy because I can't remember her name right now, but she's
No, but she reminds you of the doctor on Lower Decks, the cat.
Oh yeah, the
oh
cat.
yes,
Yeah,
who
right.
just
He was like,
"You're fine, get out."
sorry, sorry,
Well,
it hurts, suck it up, you know.
Exactly.
Who herself is kind of supposed to be Pulaski, but she actually did have a
We
pretty
cannot
good
get
bedside
through an
manner.
episode of this podcast, Mike, without you
I know.
taking it back to
But here's
Pulaski.
the thing. Can I tell you that I'm very happy you didn't ask me that question, because I was like, I don't really have an opinion. I think that's where I cut off. I was like, okay, no, I don't have an opinion about her. It is what it is. She was there, she's gone. Moving on.
Well, and then we have to talk about, once we get into, when do we first meet Adira and Gray? Is that
it's
season?
It's season
4?
3.
Three.
Oh yeah, 3, because
Yeah.
that we watched an episode. Here we have guess what? Another Trill.
I love them. I love them. I'm actually happy that I got to watch this episode again, but I forgot how emotionally wrought it was, because I laid in the bed last night and cried. Where I was like, oh, that's right. Oh, this happened. Oh, that's right. That happens there. And just, it's beautifully done.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're in the underworld, I'll call it. I was like,
in the pool.
In the pool, but no, not when she's in the pool, but like when they go to like the.
Oh yes, yeah.
In the under string world, I was just like, oh, if that's what it's like, that's kind of amazing. Like all the memories, wanting to get into your fingies and toes.
Right.
Well, and you know what? There's a thing that they did, especially in the casting here, that just to take it back to the Outcast again, where you're like, everyone is obviously a woman cast as an androgynous, non-binary creature.
Yeah.
Where I actually don't know the gender of the actor who plays Gray. Like I'm actually unclear on what is happening there and how they represent themselves, and and it's a terrible thing that we always ask this question about trans people, about how they were born and how they what their transition, like no idea, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
And Gray. They are Gray.
It is a beautiful relationship.
Yes.
Watching that relationship between those two characters is true magic. Like, I am so invested in the two of them.
I'm sorry.
Mike, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that Gray's name is a little on the nose for me, because it's not quite black or white. I mean, I'm not talking about race, but they exist and they don't exist, and like she's the only one who can, or they're the only one who can see them, and you know what I mean. And then when they finally come into the world where everybody can see Gray, I don't know that they've done enough with the character. Like it's like they finished that story, and now Gray like plays games with the computer, and you know what I mean. Like I want more. I want more Gray Tal.
Maybe we'll get it.
Maybe.
I feel like we will, yeah, because I feel like they're so. And it was actually very interesting that, and they made clear too, I guess later on in Discovery, that Gray is a recurring character, and that Gray will go off and have their own story,
right,
and come back later. That's an interesting thing that they've managed to do with Discovery, with these characters who can sort of go away and then.
Right, like Mary Wiseman, like Tilly, kind of went away to run the academy.
Love Tilly. Love her so much. I love all, like, that's why I don't understand people who don't like Discovery. Like, there is representation for every body type, for every
Thank you for yes.
For I'm gonna say for most racial identities, for every sort of presentation of oneself, whether it be, very femme or androgynous or masculine of center. Like, there's something for almost everyone. Like, what do they say? They're infinite
diversity and infinite combinations.
and I mean, I feel like we've hit,
like we got there.
Like we got there. Like, you look at the bridge crew, like, around the table when we watch this episode, and you're like, oh, hello everybody.
Yeah.
Hello all gender. Yeah. Hello all racial representation. Hello everybody type. I love that Tilly is a voluptuous woman who's like, yes, I'm very nice and kind. But then we get to see her in the mirror world, where it's like, I am evil Tilly, which is, I kind of love that a little bit.
Killy, Captain Killy.
And I feel like we also need to mention Tig Notaro, who is.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
I mean, one of my favorite characters on that show, and is not just funny, but incredibly funny.
Yes.
The dry wit, the delivery of,
and can never button the uniform up all the way.
Nope. I'm not doing it.
She's just the best.
Yeah, well, and also very, like, casually, like, I lost my wife in the Klingon War.
Yeah.
Like, a backstory that, like, gives you everything that you need to know. So you're like, I totally understand how you were stuck on that ship on that moon for so long, and all of that, and, like, where you're coming from, and and she's kind of, like, outing herself, sort of. I mean, like, like,
just in case you didn't know.
Yeah,
and you didn't know, and
it's
that was
a
like
non-issue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way it should be.
So good.
It's another example of Star Trek showing us a future that we can, hope for.
A future where even in like the dystopian far future, Stacey Abrams is the president of Earth.
It's so interesting. It's like everybody can show up as their full selves. Like, I think that's the one thing about Star Trek that has kind of stayed the course, that even a character is sort of flimsily written, they are their full selves. Like, no one's ever really hiding who they are. Like, and when they do hide, it eventually comes out. Like, the whole, I don't know why this popped into my head, but like Worf and the whole the ways in which mating and like that very like rough way that Klingons are with each other, or like the way that Saru, when they go through the, what is it called when their little ganglia get chopped, they're supposed to like,
I forget what it is, the transition
the transition that they go through, or like Kess when she, I don't know why she popped into my head.
What did they do to Kess?
That whole, like, I'm birthing something out of my back. I don't. But it was like,
we can't support everything they did on that show.
Not everything exactly, but
a lot of good stuff. Like, can't support it all.
If something was very specific to one's culture, like it would eventually come up and then be like, oh, that's something else, and I'm learning about you. Not that it was weird or they were shunned. It was like, oh, okay, that's a part of your culture. Let's learn more, and that makes you who you are and why you are the way you are. Great. Good to know.
Like B'Elanna Torres sort of suppressing and being ashamed of her Klingon culture, and how she had to deal with that.
Can I ask a somewhat of a general question here? Is like, to what extent do you feel like your own queer identity drew you to Star Trek in the first place? That was sort of like something that I had to, in like thinking about this topic. I was like, I'd never really actually thought about it that way, and it's probably part of the ways that made me like a sort of isolated kid and had fewer friends, and these were my friends. This is what Aaron says all the time. That next generation, they were my friends.
Absolutely.
I think it's different being older and getting back into it, right? Because it was never, for me, it wasn't like a destination. Like I knew about Star Trek, but it wasn't like, this is what I'm sitting down to watch every Thursday or
Sure,
when it came on, it's like, oh, if it was on, okay, cool. There were other things that were in my zeitgeist to watch based on like where I grew up, like the 90s. Like I'm all about, I was a living single, Cosby Show, sister, one-on-one. Like we were just talking about the other day, like the 90s for us, for Black TV, like that's what I was watching.
Sure.
My queerness didn't come till later in life, we'll call it. So I'm an adult going back to watch Star Trek, and it's like, oh, if maybe I had it sooner, maybe it would have, like the queerness would have popped out earlier. Maybe not. Who knows? Like I grew up in Delaware, like it was gonna be what it was gonna be. But it's so interesting now to watch it and like to relate to it in so many different ways as an adult, being like seeing all the different ways to be queer, right? Like there is there's not one way to be anything. It's like everyone has their own experiences that bring them to exactly where they are and who they're with. And it's kind of beautiful to watch.
Absolutely. It's funny. I never thought of Star Trek being drawn, that my queerness drew me to Star Trek as a kid. But if I look back on it, I was watching Star Trek when I was, 7 or 8 years old, and I was always attracted to or drawn to strong women who weren't, playing damsels or they weren't just supporting a man. And of course I wasn't really conscious of that, but Nichelle Nichols, like when I would play Star Trek, I took my little roll top desk in my bedroom and like used construction paper and cardboard and made like a communication console. Like I wanted to be Nichelle Nichols. And
I love that.
and watching this is totally a separate thing, but also a 1960s show, the 60s Batman, like Batgirl was like my character, like Yvonne Craig, purple sequins, fabulous. You know what I mean?
So, I had much the same feeling about Nichelle also, in that like I was like, Uhura was my favorite character. She wasn't she hardly did anything, and I had no understanding of like the cultural significance of her, or too young to didn't really get that, but I felt the same feeling for sure.
Yeah, because
she very important.
She
she was the one that connected, like
yes, she was to the whole outside, everyone off the ship that came through, communicated through her.
She was the one who was giving all of it. She had all the cards,
all the information from the outside world that was not on the screen.
It's a powerful position. And I did not feel that way about Yeoman Rand, because she was written to be this love interest for Captain Kirk. Like you could tell the way she was, the way that character was written, she was written to like be a supporting player to the captain. And Uhura was not written that way at all. To the point where in the J.J. Abrams movies, they do a good job with her, but I don't really like her being in a relationship with Spock. Like, why does this person need to be in a relationship? Why does Uhura need to be a girlfriend to be on the ship, But
she doesn't,
she doesn't. Right.
That was someone's dream. That was someone's like, oh, that was that fantasy. Ooh, she should be a girlfriend. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's no romance within the central cast,
Right,
but that's why the new Uhura in
Celia Rose Gooding in Strange New Worlds.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, so good.
I mean that writing there, that I want more. I need more of that back.
Actress is like giving a tremendous mix. Oh, she's bringing a vulnerability to a younger character with that strength in there, and that like and what's interesting that we always get on Star Trek from a character is that you can't really be brave without being afraid. And so you see that she has fear, and that fear is what makes her brave. And you
Yeah.
know, so many of the Next Generation characters are just so fearless that you get a little bit the Harry Kim. You need a Harry Kim. You need somebody who's afraid, because that's what makes you brave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that we're seeing her at a time where she's not even really sure this is what she wants to do, in a way.
She's like, I'm good at it, but I don't know if I really want to do it.
It gives her somewhere to go, that we know what's going to happen. We know that she's this kick-ass, character. And we're hopefully going to watch that evolve. Now, putting aside that, I think it's a little bit of I think that some of those original series characters are being shoehorned into Strange New Worlds. Like, she's on the ship as a cadet. Like, okay, Nurse Chapel is there as a civilian doctor. Okay, But that aside, I'm happy. And casting is amazing. I mean, she's a talented, Broadway actress, amazing person. So, love it. And who am I forgetting? Oh, on Strange New World, I didn't put this person on my list, but who's the character who shows up?
Oh, the non-binary villain who's in a romance with Cybok?
Yes. Cybok's, partner in crime. Angel something. Anyway, another
Lanita's Googling it. She's got that's her Googling face we're looking at right now.
It's funny.
Face for Google.
I had to mute so you wouldn't hear me typing. Clickety clack, clickety clack, clack. I was like, wait, what? This is why I was saying, like, I'm surprised. I've had enough to say, because I told you, like, I'm in it, but then it's like it all stays somewhere in my brain. It's like, what am I pulling to the forefront of the brain to be able to have this conversation?
You have pulled it to the forefront.
Yes,
you have pulled it.
Well, like I revealed, I think in our last episode, I'm at a point in my life where I can go back and watch episodes that I've completely forgotten. So,
yes.
There's so many of them. Like, there's just so many of them. There's so many.
And as an adult, no matter how much I love it, I don't file it in the easily access memory banks the way that my 11-year-old self could file a beloved Next Generation episode. The way that I could recite for you now.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the name of the Cybok love interest who was the villain in that, right? I can't tell you. Loved the episode. I can rewatch it.
I think there was something about I would record the episodes on my little VHS tapes, and I had this catalog of self-recorded off of TV, trying to pause to not get the commercials. And now that everything's so convenient in streaming, I it's just so easy that I don't have that connection. It's a little different,
because I don't want commercials. At the end of the day, I'm watching. I know we're on a different podcast here, but I'm mad that Drag Race is on MTV because I have to watch commercials. I don't like that streaming service. I need a Netflix, I need a Hulu, this isn't in the no ads plan, so it's going to play with a commercial at the beginning and the end. Bet. Give me that top 30-second episode. I get it. I do not want breaks. I want to watch it. I want the screen to go black, and I want to come back in. I don't need a break. I need.
And I'll tell you this: all of the remaining Drag Race queens, when I was in LA for work last week, were staying in my hotel on my floor immediately, entirely surrounding my room. Which I don't watch the show. I am the one homosexual in New York City who is not into it. And,
but you're not. Don't
Colby was like, "Get their autographs."
Right? If you would have told me, I would have been yelling at you. Let's be clear. I would have been like, Damazon, what are you doing?
I'm so far behind on Drag Race. So
it's okay. It's okay. Star Trek is more interesting, really.
Yes.
That
is what our podcast is about.
It's
true. Truly. You watch the first 2 episodes, you're like, okay, there's the winner. Move on.
There's some great Drag Race Star Trek crossovers with Jackie Cox and her cosplay. She's been Deanna Troi at conventions. She's been all these different amazing stuff.
See, Star Trek
There's
reaches all.
there is definitely at the gay bar called Barracuda in Chelsea, and there is on Saturday there is Too Proudly Go, where they have all of the Star Trek drag queens. There's like a drag queen Beverly Crusher, drag queen Janeway.
I kind of love that.
I love it. Drag queen
And they
Janeway.
will probably, I
just
feel like,
Janeway.
be at the Gay Star Trek convention in Philadelphia the first week of May. I have not bought my ticket.
I don't know if I'm a convention girl. It's
not far from Wilmington. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, I know, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
You have to whisper it. You're like, I don't know.
Like conventions in general.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that is my lane. Like I'm I'm an at-home nerd. I'm not a go be with other nerds nerd.
I can relate to
and I'm
that.
also not like a sign my thing nerd like I was when I was like
I'm a Broadway nerd. Like, I'm gonna stand outside. If I go see a show and I love you, I'm gonna stand at that stage door and with my pen. Thank you, Sarah Foster. Thank you, Audra McDonald. Like, you were great. Moving on, but like going and being, dressing up and
there's something weird.
I kind of want to like go hang out with Nana Visitor.
Oh my God, yes.
I feel like we should be friends. I see that she and Terry Farrell go hiking together, and I'm like, they didn't invite me. They knew I'd want to go, and they didn't think to call me.
I will say there's something about being in the entertainment industry. Not that like we're, I mean, you guys are more in the entertainment industry than I am now, being like theater people, but paying someone like $50 just for their autograph just seems so wrong. And I know that it's like, hey, they're making
and we work in a place where autographs are verboten.
Yeah, right.
Well,
yeah, you get walked out of the building for that. So I've
seen it happen.
Yep. No.
Thank you. No, thank you.
No, thank you. I don't need anything written on anything for me.
Nope. I mean, if I am specifically, exclusively invited to come to a thing to see a person, depending on who that person is, I may say yes. Otherwise,
you can record my outgoing voicemail, but I don't need you to sign your name.
I don't need any of that. I just want to say, I love you so much. I watched you on this. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a lovely day. That's it. Moving on.
Or like my friend Michelle said to Felicia Rashad in the elevator, thank you for raising me.
Oh,
because it's true.
That's amazing. The way I do autographs is I get them to sign a book that they've written. Like for some reason that I think is okay. Like I went to when Kate Mulgrew published her first memoir. They did the launch at the Barnes and Noble in I think it was in Herald Square. No, anyway, whatever.
Union Square, probably.
In Union Square, probably. Yeah.
We're like Union Square. We were
there. And getting her to sign that, that was a cool moment for me. But,
absolutely.
But yeah, just paying at a convention, like I don't know. I would almost rather just, I don't know. There's something about it that seems.
You'd rather randomly see them on a street while you're reading, be like, hi, so yes, you're having this latte. Would you mind signing your book? Thank you so much. And then I'll walk away.
Yeah. Or just, hi, I love you.
That's it.
That's really what I want. That little connection.
That's it. It's me.
I know I've talked about this on the podcast multiple times, but having just talked about how important Nichelle Nichols was to me as a kid, finally getting to meet her was such a moment. And I had her sign. I didn't cry in front of her.
I'm not saying I didn't cry, but I did not cry in front of her.
But I bought on eBay a copy of her autobiography that I'm sure she wrote with a ghostwriter like in the 90s. And I brought that to her for her to sign. Because I thought like she would enjoy seeing it too. And like it didn't faze her at all,
Like I've seen this, baby, but I'll sign it.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming.
And you could tell she had this very specific, like rehearsed signature, to the stars, it was just gorgeous. Love it. Anyway.
I love that.
Yeah.
Who else we got in the world? I mean, in the current Picard,
Mhm.
we have a lovely relationship that, or well, we used to.
Right. 7
Well,
of 9.
Worf says breakups of my planet surely Klingon breakups rarely happen without bloodshed.
This is what I'm saying. I love Klingons. I love them so much.
I love Seven, and I love Rafi, and I don't necessarily need them to be together, but I love that they're awkward. I love that they're like
Yes.
awkward together, and I love that they're at least like that they're at least acknowledging that, like, you know, while Rafi's undercover, she's like, man, I lost my job and my girlfriend dumped me, and
Yeah.
like, perfect.
I mean,
Perfect.
it's true and it's necessary. I don't know if they're meant to be together forever. It was nice.
Yeah.
They're meant to be connected. They're
Well,
meant to be in each other's lives in some kind of twisted kind of way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Absolutely.
and watching 7 of 9 in Voyager, I always thought she was not straight. But again, it's easy to read into those outsider characters that way. It's just that in this particular instance, the writers also went there.
Well, we saw her hook up with Chakotay, and we all felt wrong about it.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
That was a bad idea.
Yeah.
No.
Terrible idea.
No. Absolutely not.
I don't want to misquote the story, so I'm not. Well, I'll tell it real quick. I heard, I think it was an interview with Robert Beltran, but she was in a relationship or maybe even married to one of the writers, right? On Voyager.
To Brandon Braga, the showrunner, yeah, the head
right.
writer.
And he made some comment that, or Robert Beltran did, that Brandon Braga would be jealous if there was a love scene with them. And according to him, that's why that happened. That's why that romance was written in, because Brandon Braga was proving, look, I'm not jealous. I can write, I can have you kiss my wife like that. Oh, that's all gross. So multiple reasons I don't like the Chakotay.
The ultimate inorganic storytelling right there.
Yes. Oh, terrible.
Trying to
we
prove
can always tell. And we can always tell no matter what. We're like, oh yeah, that someone forced that.
Although I will say, of my lesbian friends, if they talk about a boyfriend that they had like before they came out or before, they're always terrible people. So like they were trying to work something.
Unfortunate, but see, that's unfortunate because I don't think that's always true. I feel like that's retconning, being like that's why because he was terrible. Like, oh,
sure, maybe you're right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you could we all had a journey to get where we are. There are some people who just knew.
Oh yeah,
and their trajectory was very linear and straight.
Yeah,
quote unquote. There are other people who had to do a little bit of dipping and dodging.
Right.
Trying some things out, being like, nope, not for me. Maybe nope, not. And here's my thing. And sometimes the person's horrible, and sometimes they're just like, yes, you go.
Right.
You figure it out. It's okay. No one needs to be a gold star or anything.
Absolutely.
We're past that. We're past that now.
We're past that. Yeah.
I would hope.
I would hope so too.
That's the future we're looking for.
That's funny. Well, and I wonder. I just thought of this. If when the Borg are joined, when she was part of the collective, she was joined with all of these other, almost like a trill, but not with just one.
Pansexual also,
right? Because she, for years, carried the collective consciousness of millions of drones. Right.
Right.
I have no idea.
Well, yeah, and also like it's you never explicitly get that they're lesbians necessarily. That
no.
that is, do we still subscribe to rigid forms of sexual orientation in the 25th century? I don't know. They never really directly address that, which I think is like, it works.
In my head canon, we don't. It's like we don't need to label it.
I think I'm still pretty gay in the 25th century. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, I keep seeing Dr. Culber in that spacesuit, and I'm thinking pretty gay. Yeah.
Listen, I can appreciate a fine form in a fine uniform. Doesn't mean I want to do anything with him, but I can say, you're looking good there, buddy.
We can all appreciate aesthetics.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust anybody who can't.
Agreed.
Like, I just don't trust you. I'm like, listen, we all agree.
Right.
Hot.
Right.
That's it. Then me hot.
It's like when you ask like an opinion, you ask a straight guy an opinion on it, they're like, oh, I don't know. I can't think about that. He's another, it's like, come on, you can acknowledge when another person is attractive, whether you're attracted to them or not.
Absolutely.
Fragile. Anyway.
I love it.
So I think we might have wrapped up our queer representation in Star Trek conversation. I think that we covered it.
I feel like it's been a journey. I feel like there's nothing left to say.
Well,
no, I think we could do a series on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like we need like maybe a couple parter about Trill. Like that's a whole journey in itself.
Yeah. What are we going to see in the future? We have another season of Strange New Worlds coming out with Carol Kane in the cast.
Yes, Carol Kane.
I'm
watching her on Hunters right now. I recommend it. It's Violet Osborne. Hunters on Amazon. Yes.
Nice.
I don't really watch anything on Amazon. Okay.
Yeah. It's Prime isn't just about the free shipping.
And that free shipping ain't what it used to be.
Oh well, nothing is.
Nothing is. Well, and they have. Well, we're getting Starfleet Academy. We learned that.
Oh yeah, we learned that.
Are we?
Is that going to be Tilly?
That is confirmed. Well, they said that the Starfleet. It's the first class to graduate in 100 years or something like that. So to me, that means 32nd century. That's Tilly time.
That's Tilly. Yeah,
I think it's Tilly.
Oh,
you're like, I'm calling it.
So she's going to be the lead character on that series?
Either that or she's like, I imagine she's probably maybe, I don't know. Yeah. She's the teacher, clearly. She's the leader of the, whether it focuses on her or not, we don't know. But the real question is that this season of Picard is setting us up for something.
Yes.
And it could be there's so many doors that are opening right now from that.
Is this the last season of Picard?
Done. Yes. But all of these characters are, we haven't seen the end of it yet.
Right.
But there are possibilities for stories for so many of them. And, we get the LaForge sisters who are awesome.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
And we get,
that relationship is amazing.
Right. And they're so like poles of the same,
Isn't that what they say, that siblings are raised in different households? Like,
I like that.
Like, depending on where you are in it, like your perspective. I'm an only child, so I was raised in the same household with myself. But like Damian's perspective of his parents is completely different than
from my brother, my sister. I'm in the middle. It's for sure. And and we have. There's a Worf and Rafi show just waiting to happen.
Oh, just waiting. Their chemistry is so good.
I love tea drinking Worf.
Yes.
I do.
Chamomile,
but who still has a warrior inside when necessary.
Oh yeah.
That's never going to die.
This is not a spoiler, but there is a moment when he re-encounters Deanna Troi for the first time. Just remember that I raised a flag on this play.
I'm gonna go watch it.
I want your feedback. And Mike is trying to end the podcast.
This is what happens. I'm gonna go watch it, and then I'm gonna text you because you said something. So now I'm gonna just be like, well, I'm not gonna watch that Criminal Minds I was gonna watch. I'm gonna go watch Picard.
Yes, text us both. I can't wait to hear. God, I can't wait for these final 2 episodes of Picard. I can't wait. Oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry.
So they're all.
No, I can't wait. I want to savor it. I don't want it to be over.
But see, that's the thing. That's why I don't watch it every week. Like I need there to be. I need 2 hours of it, right? So I have 2 episodes, 6 and 7, or 7 and 8, whatever the last 2. Like because I get so upset, and I'm like, but I want to know. what's happening.
Yeah.
But then the
And
internet
so-
spoiled Rolaren for me. So I mean, because I was in Mexico and I couldn't stay off my phone. So
Well, that's your fault,
it's
not
my
the
fault.
internet.
It's my fault. I know. I know.
That's why, when I know that I can't watch things when they come out, I stay away.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, no Instagram today. Not gonna ruin a good time for me.
Well,
Mike
I
Jones,
hope
Damon
this has
Epler.
been a good
It
time.
has. I was gonna say it's been
So
super
fun.
Super fun.
I'm really
my God.
grateful to myself for adding Lanita to the guest chair.
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Thank
grateful
you
to
for
you too,
reaching out.
Davidson. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you for
mean,
joining us.
Because here's the thing. I mean, don't you remember? I've been on one other thing with you when we did the watchery. What did I have to watch? Was way back when I was still in the Bronx in the condo. I did a watchery of an episode of, I feel like, the original series.
Oh, it might have been.
Was it? I feel like it was.
I was watching through TNG and blogging about it, and
Maybe
I
it
found
was TNG.
that I didn't have enough to just say about the episode, that watching it with a friend helped me,
yes.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And eventually that turned into this podcast. I mean, I'm too lazy to sit down and type and edit it. Just turning on a microphone and gabbing on is so much easier.
Yes.
I
That's
just
certainly
remember
what we
that,
did tonight.
I was like, and this is what I'm saying. Like, it was, let's see, I've been here 7, so it had to be like 10 years ago. You were like,
Yeah.
hey, do you want to come watch this thing? I was like, sure. Why not? And I was like, ooh, I don't know if I have anything to say, but I'll go for it.
I'm gonna have to go back through the archives and see what episode we watched. I'll text you.
Oh, please do. And then we can do another watch and be like, hey, let's rewatch the rewatch.
Oh my God. Meta.
See, we've seen the watch alongs I can't do because I forget I'm on a podcast, so I just start watching the episode.
I'm bad about that too. Yeah.
I know.
It's a very quiet episode. You'll be like, oh, look, there's that thing happening, and then silence.
And then
And you all are like, and then
I was like,
everyone's like, ooh.
well, I can't edit out the pauses either in those.
right,
you
because
know?
then it misaligns. Yeah, exactly.
Right. The worst. All right. Well,
you,
let's
gentlemen.
wrap up. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go finish my dinner, and there's
Oh
a
my
pork
God.
roast
Your
that's been resting.
Pork loin is cold.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
just a
all
little
good.
reheat. I'm gonna go make sure that the dictator is going to bed and refresh my tea.
It's that time. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you leave us a review, 5 stars or whatever it is, wherever you get your podcast. You can find more of us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Hailing Freak Open, or on our webpage at hailingfrequenciesopen.com. And once again, I want to thank our guest Lanita today for joining us and taking time to talk about gays in space.
Yeah.
Space.
And as always, thank you, Damian,
Thank you, Mike.
for all of your work and effort on this. And until next time, Hailing Frequencies closed.